History sells you a simple story. A prince saved Russia by killing Rasputin. But Felix Yusupov was never simple. He was the richest heir in the empire and the man the court whispered about behind fans and white gloves. A man who wore silk and diamonds, slipped into another identity at night, and walked back into daylight the next morning as if nothing had happened. And here is the part people do not like to say out loud. When Russia began to crack, it was not the generals who moved first. It was the prince with the scandal. So what happens inside someone like that? What turns a life built on secrets into a murder that shakes an entire empire and forces the Romanovs into a cover-up they could not control? What if Rasputin was not just a monk, but a man who knew too much? About the court, about Irina's name being used as bait, about Dmitri, about Felix himself. And what if Felix did not walk into that cellar to save Russia, but to make sure one truth never reached the morning? Because the night Rasputin died, the truth died with him. To understand Felix, we have to throw out the fairy tale version. We have to leave the basement of the Moika Palace and go back to the golden cages of his childhood. The Yusupovs were not just rich, they were the symbol of Tsarist decadence. Multiple palaces, vast estates, and an art collection packed with European masters. Felix would later sell 2 Rembrandts in exile, and you only do that if your life once sat at a height most people cannot even imagine. But inside all that wealth was something darker. A family legend haunted the halls for generations, the Yusupov curse. And Felix did not just grow up hearing it, he grew up watching it come true. The story said that in every generation, only one male heir would survive past the age of 26, a grim and unprovable myth. But in a world where superstition, power and fear live in the same room, belief starts to feel like destiny, and when you believe it, you begin living around it. That is when it becomes dangerous. Felix was born in 1887 as the second son, the spare. The pressure was on his older brother Nikolai. Nikolai was the perfect heir. Tough, traditionally masculine, exactly what the court expected. The man who was supposed to break the curse. And Felix was different, more sensitive, more artistic, harder to mould. His mother Zinaida Yusupova sometimes dressed him in girls' clothing when he was a small child. Biographies and Felix's own recollections later mention it. Why exactly is impossible to prove. It could have been play, comfort, preference. What matters is the effect. Felix learned early that attention can be controlled and that identity in high society can be performed. And once you learn that, you never stop using it. While Nikolai was shaped into an officer, Felix learned a different skill set. How to read a room, how to sense danger, how to be invisible and unforgettable at the same time. And once you learn that, you want to test how far it goes. He built a secret life in the shadows of St. Petersburg. Cabarets, clubs, back rooms, places where the elite drop their masks. Felix sometimes dressed as a woman to get in or to disappear into the crowd. He later described this himself, and versions of it appear again and again in biographies. Some stories were exaggerated. That happens with legends, but the reputation was real. Felix was the prince who bent rules, and it seemed to cost him nothing. Then the family whispers came true. In 1908, his brother Nikolai died in a pistol duel with Count Arvid Manteuffel. Accounts differ, but the core is consistent. Nikolai did not shoot to kill. Manteuffel did. Nikolai was hit and died. He was 25, 1 year before 26. From that moment, Felix did not just inherit money, he inherited a countdown. Suddenly, Felix was no longer the spare. He was the name, the fortune, the future. And somewhere in the background, that number began ticking like a clock he could not shut off. Imagine that shift. You live as the strange one, the scandal, the artist. Then one gunshot turns you into the man who must carry everything. Do you become respectable or do you become dangerous? Felix did not change who he was. He became a contradiction. He leaned deeper into the tension of his double life. The rumours grew louder, the stares sharper, then came a solution that looked like a polite cover-up. Felix was sent to Oxford. Officially it was education. In reality it was distance, out of sight, away from the gossip machine of St. Petersburg. Sources confirm his time at Oxford and the lavish way he lived there. But Oxford did not shrink Felix. Oxford polished him. When he returned, he did not come back cleaner. He came back sharper. He learned how Western elites hide their secrets behind better manners, how you can be different without being destroyed immediately, and most importantly, how to control the story so punishment never fully lands. Then something happened that changes a person psychologically. Felix passed the fatal age. He lived. That makes you either humble or reckless. And recklessness becomes dangerous when you later plan a murder like a stage play. In 1914, Felix married Princess Irina Alexandrovna, a niece of Tsar Nicholas II. The marriage was political. Tying himself to the Romanovs made open attacks far more expensive. What Irina knew or tolerated cannot be proven. What we do know is that she stayed with him through war, revolution, and exile. As they married, the world began to split. World War I erupted, Russia bled, soldiers died, hunger grew at home. The court became a pressure cooker of fear and intrigue. Everyone wanted a scapegoat, everyone wanted a savior, and one name spread faster than any other: Grigory Rasputin. Rasputin was the Siberian holy man who gained extraordinary influence with Empress Alexandra, partly because she believed he could help her son Alexei. To followers, he was spiritual power. To enemies, he was a parasite. But by 1916, one thing was clear: he was political gravity, and that gravity was pulling Russia down. For Felix, Rasputin was unbearable, not just politically, but symbolically. He represented everything the aristocracy feared: an outsider with access to the centre of power, while ministers fell and the country fractured. And this is what mattered most to Felix. If Rasputin talked, Felix did not just lose status. He lost the shield that kept him alive. Felix decided Rasputin had to die, but he could not do it alone. He needed a partner. That partner was Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich. Their bond became one of the most whispered subjects at court. Historians still debate its nature. What we can say is that they were closely connected, and Dmitry played a central role in the plot. Along with others, including Vladimir Purishkevich and Dr. Lazarev, they built the plan. An unlikely alliance, a flamboyant aristocrat and a strict monarchist, united by one belief. As long as Rasputin lived, the monarchy kept dying. By 1916, it was no longer about killing a man. It was about killing a rumour before it became evidence. The plan was theatrical, just like Felix himself. Lure Rasputin to the Moika Palace, make him believe he would meet Irina, bring him underground into a controlled space, keep it quiet. The night arrived. It was the night from December 29th to 30th, 1916, New Style Gregorian calendar. This is where the legend cracks. Felix later claimed there were poisoned cakes and wine, that Rasputin consumed them, that nothing happened, and that a near supernatural struggle followed. But later, forensic and historical analysis does not support the famous poison story, nor the dramatic drowning the legend prefers. The poison and drowning version is a legend. The bullets are the part nobody can edit. Rasputin was lured to the Moika Palace. He was shot. Multiple shots were fired. In the end, he died. And then something strange happened. Instead of going quiet, the story got louder. And that was not an accident, because a simple murder by aristocrats is a crime, but a battle against a monster is a story that protects you. Felix had learned his whole life that whoever controls the story controls the memory. Later came speculation about British involvement. Some claimed Britain wanted Rasputin removed because peace talks could pull Russia out of the war. Felix had known British agent Oswald Rayner at Oxford. There is no conclusive proof that a British agent pulled the trigger. Serious historians remain cautious. So the careful truth is this: there may have been awareness or influence. There is no confirmed evidence of direct control. Either way, the outcome was the same. Rasputin became a symbol. The murder became an explosion no one could contain. The Romanovs chose punishment and a cover-up at the same time. Dmitri was sent away. Felix was pushed out of the center of power. Within months, everything collapsed. Revolution tore through Russia. The monarchy fell. Felix and Irina fled through chaos, taking what could be carried or hidden: jewelry, art, portable wealth. Stories of clever hiding places survive, but they remain legend. In Paris, Felix began his final performance, taking control of his own myth. He and Irina founded the fashion house IRFE. It found success, then collapsed. Felix became known for generosity, charm, and a shrinking fortune. Then came the final irony. Rasputin saved him one last time. In 1932, MGM released Rasputin and the Empress. The Yusupovs sued, arguing the film damaged Irina's reputation. They won. The settlement helped sustain them. Even in exile, Felix forced the world to take his story seriously. Felix Yusupov died in Paris in 1967. He beat the curse in the literal sense. But his world, his Russia, was already gone. Was he a hero or a villain? The honest answer is that he was both. He was the boy who learned identity could be a role. He was the man who helped carry out a political murder. He was the husband who stayed beside Irina through exile. And he was the man who turned Rasputin into a monster afterward, because a monster protects you better than a corpse. History sold you a clean version. Felix survived by making sure you never heard the dirty one. Did Felix kill Rasputin to save Russia? Or did he kill Rasputin to save himself and the story around him? Tell me what you think was the real cover-up.